The mountain inn was silent at 2 a.m. Yamato, still bandaged from surgery, stirred in his futon. A soft splash broke the quiet. Through the cracked door, a silhouette shifted in the steam of the private outdoor bath. The figure turned. Silver-white hair clung to a porcelain face. Massive lavender eyes went wide with panic.
Who is that? Why is she in my bath?
Before he could call out, she snatched her bucket and fled, wet yukata trailing. The splash faded into silence. The next morning, the bath was empty and still. But that night, the figure returned. Same silver hair. Same silent intrusion.
Twice now. I am not imagining this. She's real, and she's been coming every night.
When Yamato quietly asked the innkeeper about night staff, the old man's reply was sharp and final. The bath was private. No one else had a key.
But his eyes said something else. If I report her, she might lose her job. But I can't just ignore this.
The questions gnawed at him. So on the third night, he made a decision. He would stay awake and catch her in the act. He took his evening dose, propped himself against the wall, and fixed his gaze on the bath door. The painkillers dragged him under. He woke at dawn to an empty bath and the sour taste of failure. At the bath's edge, his foot nudged a small wooden frame. An old man's face stared up from beneath a film of moisture.
Who is this? Why would someone keep a photo here, in the steam?
At breakfast, Yamato held the frame out to the innkeeper. The old man's eyes tightened.
That guest. He was a regular. Loved this bath. We keep the photo as a small memorial.
A memorial tucked away at the bath's edge. It feels like you are hiding it.
The innkeeper snatched the frame, his voice turning cold. It's nothing for a guest to worry about.
I am not letting this go. Tomorrow night, I'll set an alarm. I will see what happens.
That evening, he set his phone alarm for 1:30 a.m. His eyes burned with determination. At 1:30 a.m., the phone vibrated. Yamato silenced it and fixed his eyes on the door. The minutes dragged into an hour. No one came. The bath remained silent and empty. He clenched his jaw, frustration coiling in his chest.
She knows somehow. She knows when I am awake. I need to make her believe I am asleep.
The next evening, he took his medication, but forced himself to breathe slowly, feigning deep slumber. At 2, the shoji panel whispered open. Soft footsteps crossed the tatami. Riko stepped into the private bath. Through barely open eyes, he saw her kneel with a rag. Not soaking, scrubbing the stones with tired, methodical strokes.
She's cleaning? Why would she clean the bath in the dead of night?
For an hour, she worked without pause, her silver hair slipping loose, her shoulders hunched with exhaustion. Then she gathered her bucket and vanished through the door. Silence returned. Yamato opened his eyes fully. The truth was far stranger than a simple intrusion. Now he needed to know the reason. That morning, Yamato watched Riko serve breakfast. Dark circles ringed her eyes. Her hands trembled as she placed the tray. But what truly gnawed at him was the other staff. They moved easily, laughing, unconcerned.
Only Riko looked like she was carrying the weight of the entire inn. This isn't normal. If I report her for sneaking in, I might destroy her, but if I do nothing...
At lunch, he saw her stumble, catching herself on a doorframe. No one helped.
The innkeeper gave me an evasive answer. What if he's the one driving her to this?
The seed of suspicion had sprouted. He decided not to report her. Not yet. Instead, he would document everything. The night cleaning, the daytime exhaustion. He would build a case. His phone would become his evidence. Every hour she worked, every detail he could catch. He set a silent recording app to auto-start at 1 a.m. Whatever was happening, he would have proof. The recording from the night before revealed Riko scrubbing the same stones for 70 minutes, pausing only to wipe her brow. He clipped his phone to his yukata and began filming her daytime shifts too. Serving meals, hauling towels, scrubbing floors, Riko never stopped. While other attendants took breaks, she moved from one task to the next like a ghost. The innkeeper caught Yamato loitering near the staff corridor. His eyes narrowed with cold suspicion.
You paid for a private bath, sir. Perhaps you should enjoy that instead of wandering the halls.
He knows I am watching. If I am not careful, he'll find the footage.
He hid the phone in a futon fold, aiming it through a gap in the door. The new angle was riskier but essential. That night, the footage caught her hand slipping. She clutched a stone to keep from falling, then kept scrubbing.
Perhaps a room with a mountain view would be more to your liking. I insist, he said at breakfast, voice flat.
Yamato refused the offer. But as the innkeeper walked away, he realized the stakes. He was being watched just as closely. On the 7th night, Yamato sat awake in the dark. The phone recorded, but this time, he would step in. Riko slipped through the door, bucket in hand. She knelt by the bath and began to scrub. As she lifted the rag, Yamato stepped into the bath's steam. She froze.
Riko, I've seen you here every night. Tell me what's happening.
Number, please. Just forget you saw me.
I am not going to report you, but I need to understand why.
Tears welled in her eyes. She sank to the stones, covering her face.
For 2 years, my uncle has worked me nearly 20 hours a day. I only get 2 hours of sleep. He won't hire more staff. He says the profit margin is too thin. Please. He can't know I told you. He'll make it worse.
I won't tell your uncle, but I can't let this continue.
At dawn, Yamato noticed the small frame was gone from the bath's edge. The stone where it rested was empty.
Why would the innkeeper remove a guest's photo unless it held some secret?
That photo's been there since I started. I don't know who it is, but my uncle talks about a past guest sometimes. He took me in after my parents died. This inn is my only home. I am afraid of what happens if I defy him.
You can't keep sacrificing your health for his approval. There must be other options.
But she was too afraid to even consider them. He needed concrete proof, something official. That night, he slipped into the innkeeper's office. On the desk, a worn logbook listed Riko's daily hours. He photographed the pages. 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. The ink was smeared with exhaustion. Now he had the proof. The question was how to use it without destroying her. For 7 more nights, he filmed her scrubbing. 7 days of hauling, serving, never pausing. The footage showed her hands raw, her silver hair plastered with sweat, tears falling onto wet stones.
She works from 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day. This is killing her slowly.
One afternoon, the hidden phone caught the innkeeper shouting. His voice cracked through the speaker.
You call this clean? Do it again until I say it's done.
I have more than enough now. The law can't ignore this.
Late that night, he researched labor laws. A number appeared. Prefectural Labor Standards Bureau.
Anonymous reports are accepted. I can upload the videos and the logs right now.
But pressing send would change everything. For Riko, for him, for the entire inn. He had the evidence and the path. What he didn't have was a way to protect her from the fallout. He found her in the bath that evening, scrubbing the stones with a desperate focus.
Riko, there are people who can help. Anonymously. You wouldn't have to face him alone.
No, he'd know it was me. He'd throw me out. I'd be homeless.
Her fingers dug into his arm, trembling against the bandage.
Please, Yamato. Forget you saw anything. Promise me.
How can I promise that when I've seen the truth of what's happening?
The next morning, a small security camera blinked above the bath, its red light stabbing through the steam.
He's watching the bath now. I can't film anymore.
The steam curled around the lens like a silent warning. He was boxed in. The evidence sat in his phone, unusable, while the woman who needed it most begged him to stay silent. The next morning, Riko shuffled in with breakfast, Her knees wobbled as she lowered the tray. The tray crashed. Yamato lunged across the tatami, catching her just before her head struck the floor.
She's at the edge of collapse. If I do nothing now, she won't survive another week. Riko, I know a way to report this safely, but I need you to trust me.
If I give you the logs, will you promise? He'll never know it was me.
She pulled a worn notebook from her yukata, its spine cracked. Page after page of cramped, desperate hours.
3 years of records. Every 4 a.m. start, every 2 a.m. finish. The evidence is flawless now.
He placed the notebook next to his phone, where the silent footage of her 20-hour days waited.
I am ready. The labor board will have to listen now. Her consent makes all the difference.
But his thumb didn't move. The timing had to be perfect. One wrong step, and her uncle could still destroy her. He tapped the screen once. The evidence uploaded. The form submitted. There was no undo now. For 3 days, the bath steamed in silence. The labor board sent no reply. The innkeeper's footsteps echoed in the corridor at midnight, a lantern swinging with his suspicion.
You've been sluggish lately, Riko. And yesterday, you were talking with that guest much longer than necessary.
He just had a question about the bath, Uncle. I was being polite. Nothing more.
Be careful, girl. Remember who keeps a roof over your head.
Later, they sat by the bath, their silhouettes framed by moonlight and steam.
He suspects something. I can see it in his eyes. This waiting is worse than the work.
The authorities will act. They have to. Just hold on a little longer.
But in the quiet of the night, neither of them could ignore the dread coiling in the shadows. On the 8th morning of silence, a sharp knock struck the ryokan entrance. A man in a dark suit stepped across the threshold.
I am from the Prefectural Labor Standards Bureau. We received a formal complaint about working conditions here.
A complaint? This is a family-run inn. There must be a misunderstanding.
We will determine that. I need to speak with all staff members, individually and immediately.
He's here. Stay out of sight now. Let the investigator do his work.
The innkeeper's voice shook as he summoned the staff. Riko emerged, her face as pale as the bath's morning steam.
Me? I just clean the baths. I don't know anything about complaints.
Yamato stood by the bath, listening to the muffled voices ripple through the walls. Every second stretched.
If she breaks now, her uncle will make sure she never speaks again. Please, Riko, trust the evidence.
The inspector's pen scratched across paper. The investigation had begun, and the innkeeper's mask was starting to crack. Inside a small room, Riko sat across from the inspector, her hands twisted in her lap.
How many hours do you work each day, Miss Riko? Be honest.
I am on duty from early morning until late at night. But my uncle says it's necessary for the inn.
According to these records, your shifts start at 4 a.m. and end after 2 a.m. Is that accurate?
Her eyes flickered to the door where her uncle stood. His gaze was a silent blade.
If I tell the truth, he'll throw me out. But if I lie now, the inspector will know.
Outside, the innkeeper cornered Yamato in the hallway. His voice was low and venomous.
You brought this on my inn, didn't you? Leave before I have you removed for trespassing.
He can't evict me while the investigation is active, but he can make my life hell.
The inspector's pen paused. He had heard enough to continue. The storm was gathering. Before the inspector could close his notebook, Yamato appeared in the doorway. His eyes met the innkeeper's glare.
Inspector, I have additional evidence. I witnessed Miss Riko working those hours myself.
You have first-hand knowledge? Please, sit down.
I also have video recordings from multiple nights. She was scrubbing the bath at 2 a.m.
This guest is a liar. I want him removed from my property immediately.
Sir, interfering with a witness during an active investigation is a serious offense. Sit down.
The inspector gestured to Yamato. Show me what you have. The footage played. Riko's silver hair plastered to her neck. the stones gleaming under her rag as the timestamp ticked past 2 a.m.
This will be attached to the official record. Your cooperation is noted, Mr. Yamato.
The innkeeper's hands shook. For the first time, he looked cornered, not in control. The inspector handed over a formal notice, the words final and binding.
Until the hearing, she works no more than 8 hours a day. Any violation will be met with severe penalties.
The innkeeper bowed stiffly, but his compliance was a mask. As soon as the inspector left, his fury hardened into a plan.
You want normal hours? Fine, but the inn cannot afford to pay you for all of them. You'll receive only partial wages. Consider it a lesson in gratitude.
Partial, but I need to eat. How can I survive on less?
Yamato watched from the corridor. The victory of the investigation was hollow when her uncle still held the purse strings.
He's punishing her through her stomach. I can't let her starve while we wait.
That evening, Riko counted the small coins in her hand. It was barely enough for a single meal.
I thought things were finally changing, but maybe I was naive to hope.
The hearing date was set, but with each passing day without pay, the cost of justice grew steeper for the one they were trying to save. On the third evening after the inspector left, Yamato found Riko crouched behind the shed, her hands trembling as she broke a stale crust into a cup of water.
3 days without a proper meal. He's starving her right under this roof.
He slipped a wrapped rice ball into her palm, his voice low.
Eat it when you are alone. Don't let anyone see.
The innkeeper noticed the exchange from across the courtyard. His eyes narrowed to slits.
Some guests are more interested in the staff than the hot springs. That man is trouble.
By the next afternoon, whispers moved through the common room. 2 merchants from the city had heard a complaint.
A guest has filed a written complaint. They say you follow the female staff. I must ask you to remain in your quarters except for meals.
Now he's turning the other guests against me. But if I stay quiet, it looks like guilt.
He sat alone that evening, the bath steaming emptily, and waited for the hearing that would decide everything. The next morning, the innkeeper slid open the shoji screen without knocking. His face was a mask of forced calm.
I have a proposition. Drop the complaint. I will refund your entire stay and give you our finest suite.
I am not for sale. She deserves protection, not another empty promise.
The innkeeper's smile cracked. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper.
Then you'll regret it. By tomorrow, you'll wish you had left quietly.
Yamato said nothing. His silence was the loudest refusal the old man had ever heard. That night, Yamato returned from the bath to find his futon ripped, his belongings scattered across the floor. He searched frantically. The small wooden frame with the old man's photograph was gone.
The innkeeper took it. But why risk breaking in over an old guest photo?
His evidence remained untouched on the phone. The thief wanted only the photograph. At 10 o'clock, the video call connected. The innkeeper stood rigid behind his desk.
Case 447. We have reviewed the preliminary report. Present the evidence, Mr. Yamato.
He played the night footage. Riko scrubbed stones as the clock read 2:17 a.m.
She did it willingly. She wanted to help the family business.
The logs show 20-hour shifts. That violates labor law. Your statement is contradicted.
The board ordered the innkeeper to hire 2 staff, pay back wages, and receive a fine.
Is it true? I won't have to work all night anymore.
The labor nightmare is over. But the photo, where is it? And what does it mean?
By evening, the innkeeper signed the order. 2 new staff would arrive within the week. Riko held her first full-pay envelope in 2 years. The tears she shed were no longer of exhaustion, but of stunned relief. On his final morning, the innkeeper placed a cardboard box on the desk. For your checkout records. Inside, faded registration cards lay in neat rows. Yamato's fingers brushed through dates from 30 years ago. One card stopped him cold. Tanaka, Jiro, the name of his late grandfather.
This man, the photograph you keep by the bath, It's him, isn't it?
He was a regular. Same room, same bath, for over a decade. He said it healed him.
Yamato's breath caught. The bath he had soaked in every night was his grandfather's favorite place.
And the photo, the one Rico cleaned beside every night, that was him all along.
He turned to the innkeeper, voice low. "Where is the photograph now? I want it back."
I kept it in the office. I'll return it. I didn't know it meant anything to you.
Yamato took the frame, his grandfather's gentle eyes looking up at him, and clutched it to his chest. Yamato found her by the bath, one hand resting on the stones she had scrubbed clean so many nights.
Rico, this photograph, you cleaned around it every night. Why?
When I first came here, an older attendant said he was a guest who loved this bath more than life. I felt I had to keep his memory pristine.
Her voice faltered as she looked closer. The recognition dawned like morning light through the steam.
The name, Tanaka, that's your family name. This man, he was yours?
My grandfather. This was his favorite place. All those nights, you were protecting his memory, for our family.
He looked so kind. Every night, I cleaned around him because I didn't want him to be forgotten. I never imagined he was yours.
The tears she shed now were not of exhaustion, but of a devotion finally understood.
If I had known, I would have guarded it with my life. I am sorry.
You have nothing to apologize for. You gave my grandfather's memory the care I never could. Thank you, Rico.
Together, they walked to the bath's edge. In Yamato's hands was the wooden frame, cleaned and set with a single white camellia. He set the photograph back on its stone, the camellia beside it like a promise kept.
Now everyone who sits here will know he was loved. Thank you for bringing him home.
The next morning, the inn's staff entrance framed two new silhouettes against the mountains. Rico handed one a towel, her hands steady now. Then she laughed, a clear, unexpected sound that echoed off the wooden walls. The ryokan that had been a place of secret suffering now hummed with voices and the rhythm of fair work. A week later, Yamato stood by the bath for the last time. The photograph smiled back at him, its frame now polished.
He would have loved seeing this place alive again. I am glad I could be the one to give that back.
Rico appeared at the entrance, her silver hair dry for the first time he'd seen, and waved. She didn't need to say anything. The smile was enough. Yamato finished packing. He slid the bandage off his arm, the scar a pale line against new skin. At the entrance, Rico stood with the wooden bucket she once used to clean, now filled with fresh camellias.
Take one, so you never forget this place or the old man in the photo.
I came here to heal my body. I am leaving with so much more.
He took a single blossom and tucked it into his bag.
I'll keep the frame clean every night as long as I'm here.
Yamato nodded, then turned toward the mountain path. The morning sun warmed the stones. Behind him, the inn's windows glowed, and steam rose from the bath like a quiet breath. His grandfather's photo remained at the edge, watching over the water that had healed 2 generations. And as the path wound down the mountain, Yamato felt something he hadn't felt in months, whole.